Hey, did you know that an average of 1,400 people run, walk, and cycle on Austin's Town Lake hike and bike trail every single day?
It's a great place to exercise because it's so beautiful here on the water.
The dams along the Colorado River form Town Lake right here and Lake Austin a little further up. As I'm sure you'll remember, these two bodies of water are Austin's major source of drinking water.
You know, Austin's water tastes so good that it's won awards for taste and purity.
And that's due in part to how hard we've all worked to protect the real source of the water, the Colorado River. And our efforts are paying off.
Did you know that it's okay to fish again right here on Town Lake? There was a time where you couldn't eat fish from here because the water was so polluted with the pesticide. Now you can take a catch home for dinner, if you're lucky.
Today we're going to learn ways that all of us can help protect Austin's water quality. Because you know, if you've got water, you've got life.
But that could take a while, so we better move fast.
So, today, as you just heard from field agents Rivers and Lakes, we will take a closer look at protecting the quality of our water in Austin.
But if our water is so good that it's won all kinds of awards, why do we need to do anything at all?
Well, you must remember, it's our drinking water that wins awards after it's gone through a very expensive and complicated treatment process that cleans it and removes all the impurities. Today, we're going to look at ways to prevent contaminants from polluting the source of our drinking water in the first place. Why? Because our waterways are also the source of all kinds of fun and recreation for us humans. And they're home to many forms of wildlife and even the endangered species.
This is gonna be good. Who's going out in the field today?
Teresa and Tom, you will be assisting Agents Rivers and Lakes. Here are your rendezvous coordinates. Your mission is to investigate possible ways to keep our waterways clean and unpolluted.
We're out of here.
All right. Now, you three I need here in the lab. Now, Sarah, use the tracking device to locate our agents on the run. If my calculations are correct, they should be on the banks of Bull Creek right now.
Got him. And that's no bull.
Boo.
This is Bull Creek, just one of the hundreds of creeks in Austin that flows into Town Lake, Lake Austin, and the Colorado River.
The 32-square-mile area of land around here that drains into Bull Creek is called the Bull Creek Watershed.
So, what's a watershed? No, it's not a small wooden building in the backyard that holds your garden hoses and squirt guns. It's really the entire area of land that drains into a creek, river, or lake. Professor, can you pull up the map?
Let me see. Yes, here it is. Austin has more than 45 watersheds that are all part of the larger Colorado River watershed. Every home, every school, every business within the city limits and beyond is located in a watershed that drains into one of Austin's many creeks.
But my neighborhood doesn't have a creek.
Well, maybe not one that you know about, but it's true. Every neighborhood in Austin is in a watershed that drains down into a creek or a lake.
And somewhere along the line, every creek in Austin flows into someone's water supply. Somewhere. Take Bull Creek, for example. It flows into Lake Austin, just beyond this bend.
Oh, look here, kids. Many, many years ago, long before Austin had so many people, houses, and businesses, the water in our creeks was clean and clear.
So why was it cleaner then than it is now?
To get to the bottom of this story, let's start at the top.
This would be a good time to define two very important concepts that impact Austin's quality of water: pervious and impervious cover.
Pervious cover. Unpaved land like forests, parks, lawns, and soccer fields that absorb rainfall and filters pollution from water before it reaches our creeks.
An impervious cover is man-made ground cover like streets, rooftops, sidewalks, and parking lots that prevents water from being absorbed into the ground.
Agent Rivers, thanks for letting me use your bike to get here.
I hope no one saw us.
Oh,
Hi, kids. You're just in time for a discussion on impervious cover, like this city street. Water from heavy rainfall, gushing garden hoses, and even runaway sprinklers runs down into storm drains like this one.
3 guesses where that water goes.
Are wastewater treatment plants?
No.
Our creeks?
Is that your final answer?
My final answer.
And it's a good one, yes! Water runoff goes into our creeks and then right into Lake Austin, Town Lake, and the Colorado River. Yep, along with everything that gets swept up in the runoff along the way. Like pesticides.
Lawn fertilizers.
Used car oil.
Garbage. Ugh.
If it makes you feel sick just thinking about it, imagine how it makes our fish, turtles, and other aquatic life feel. The water is their home, polluted or not.
Austin is growing at an unbelievable pace. With more development comes more parking lots, more roads, more sidewalks, more rooftops, and all kinds of other impervious cover. Now, what this does is it sends the polluted water and runoff into the storm drain, huh? And now it goes into the creeks. Oh, to help protect the water that's above and below the ground from polluted runoff, Austin has very strict rules about how much and what type of impervious cover a development can have.
So the city has rules that help protect our creeks, but what can we do to keep the wrong things from going down the drain?
Well, I thought you'd never ask. For starters, let's talk lawn fertilizers, something many families in Austin use every year. Tell your parents to look for words like organic or slow release on the label. Never fertilize before rain because rain can wash fertilizer right down those old storm drains. And follow the package directions carefully so you don't over-fertilize. Oh, better yet, start a compost pile because compost is a natural fertilizer.
Pesticides are another major source of contaminants that end up in our creeks. But you don't even need to use pesticides, fertilizers, or weed killers if you choose Texas-friendly plants that are tough on pests. And plant flowers and trees that attract good bugs like ladybugs or praying mantises. They eat the harmful bugs for you.
What are the mantises praying for?
Maybe that you won't kill them with pesticides? Anyway, you'd be surprised at the many other ways there are to keep our watersheds free of pollutants. There are safe places where you can take your household chemicals, paint, and motor oil, like the City Collection Center, and there are lots of service stations that will recycle your used motor oil.
If your family's car leaks oil, it should be fixed. Rinse soapy water into the grass and not into the street and storm drains. And put household trash where it belongs, in your garbage can.
Are you getting all this?
There's just so much to know.
Preventing pollution from occurring is the smartest, most cost-effective way to protect the quality of our water.
But what about the pollution that gets into our water anyway?
Well, there are many ingenious ways to deal with water pollutants before they reach our creeks. Like this water quality pond, for example. It removes pollutants from the water before it drains into a nearby creek.
How does a water quality pond work?
Well, plants capture some of the pollutants and others settle to the bottom of the pond, preventing them from draining into the creek.
It even looks like a regular pond in a park, and there are benches for people to sit on too.
Wow! I never knew there was so much we can do to protect our creeks from pollution.
And remember, the cleaner we keep our creeks and lakes, the easier it is to treat our water for drinking, which translates into affordable water for everyone. Plus, it's more fun to play in. And the fish like it too.
So we've talked about the importance of watershed protection and pollution control in surface water, or water that's above ground. But there's another source of water in Central Texas. Any ideas, kids?
Aisle 5 at the supermarket?
Swimming pools?
Barton Springs?
Well, you're close, but the water we're talking about is still underground.
Professor, can you help us out here?
It's the Edwards Aquifer, of course, one of Central Texas's best sources of groundwater, or water that is located below ground. Just outside of Austin, thousands of people get their drinking water from the Edwards Aquifer.
Is it like an underground lake?
No, not at all, even though that's what most people think. The Edwards Aquifer is made up of thick layers of honeycombed limestone rock full of caves and large passageways that water can move through very quickly. Water flows directly into the aquifer, soaking through the ground and rushing through the openings of sinkholes, caves, and even small fractures in the bottoms of creeks.
Uh-oh. Does that mean that polluted water that runs into the creeks can end up in the aquifer?
You bet it does. The Edwards Aquifer Contributing Zone is a 264 square mile area that collects rainfall in 6 different creeks that all flow downhill until they cross the Edwards Aquifer Recharge Zone.
In the recharge zone, creek water can directly enter the aquifer through the openings that the professor was talking about. And once in the aquifer, water flows through the caves and other openings and emerges on the surface in springs.
How does Barton Springs fit in?
There are lots of springs along Barton Creek and Town Lake, but Barton Springs is the biggest. Water gushes out of the aquifer at Barton Springs with more than 30 million gallons of cool, fresh water every single day. That's about 400 gallons a second, all at a refreshing 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
That water's so cold. I used to think that's where Slurpees came from.
Does anyone want to guess why the aquifer is so vulnerable?
Vulnerable? Do you mean unprotected, exposed, susceptible?
Why, that's correct. I'll bet if you lived in Jurassic Park, you'd be a thesaurus. Does anybody want to guess why the aquifer is so vulnerable?
Does it have anything to do with how fast cities and towns are growing around the aquifer?
Oh, yes. Rapid development from Austin all the way to San Antonio is a major factor contributing to polluted water entering our aquifer. Combine that growth with how quickly water and contaminants in the water enter the porous limestone cavities in the recharge zone, and you can clearly see why the aquifer area is called environmentally sensitive.
Speaking of environmentally sensitive, you've all heard of the Barton Springs salamander, right? Well, this little guy with its translucent skin and external gills is the best-known inhabitant of the aquifer. In 1997, it was officially named an endangered species by the federal government.
Boy, I wish the people who polluted our waters would become an endangered species.
Let's just make sure we're not the polluters.
Yeah, if we don't protect our water, we may become an endangered species.
All over Austin, people are working together to protect our watersheds, our creeks, and the Edwards Aquifer for our health, our recreational enjoyment, and for the protection of wildlife habitats. For example, voters have approved the purchase of thousands of acres of land in the Barton Springs recharge and contributing zones of the aquifer to permanently shelter this land from development and the pollution it could cause.
Believe it or not, in a few short years, you'll be the voters, homeowners, and business leaders in charge of protecting Austin's water quality.
It's your future, kids. What are you gonna do?
I'll build environmentally sensitive houses.
I'll compost.
I'll be a water quality engineer.
I'll protect the land.
I'll enjoy our water, because if you've got water, you've got life.